I have a very strange walking trail encounter with an invisible two-legged very large thing while walking with my dog. Some of the trail sections have wooded areas alongside of the walking paths. So most of the trail has woods on one side of the path, and the park is on the other side of the trail. The wooded area is not very large. I would guess about 300 feet by half a mile. So I don't consider it a forest. I just call it the woods. The wooded area of the park has 3 or 4 small creeks, and I think only one of the creeks has some water. Most of the trees are beautiful and normal tall trees, and some of the trees here and there look like they are dead. There is always people and kids going down there to ride bikes, hang out, and whatever else they do. One day around 4 p.m., I took my female dog Bertha for our normal everyday walk. We had just gotten off the car and began our walk. We were probably walking on the trail for about 5 minutes or so when I started feeling weird after a turn. No, not scared or afraid. I started to feel happy, and my little pain aches had disappeared. This was very strange because I remember saying to myself inside my head, not out loud. I said, "Wow, I feel good. I feel like a little kid. I feel brand new." It was only about 20 seconds of this young and joyful feeling when all of a sudden, something had let go of a large bush that it was holding on to. The thing sounded like it was intertwined in the bush, like holding on and trying to hide. At the same time of the noise in the bush, Bertha turned towards the bush and started going after it. I had Bertha on a leash, and she was dragging me, almost taking me into the woods. I had to hold her back because I couldn't see what was making all that noise. It moved through another tall bush and started stepping heavy with loud thumps. I think it fell when it made it out of the bush area. The thing was only about 15 feet away from us on the other side of the bushes, and sounded like 2 very large horses stomping on the ground. I could see the bushes and the grass moving, but I could not see anything. We moved back away from the trail a few feet so I can see a clearing on the other side of the bushes to try to see this thing. I looked right where the sounds of steps were coming from and saw nothing. So I looked down on the ground and I could see where 2 feet were stepping on the tall grass. I remember I said to myself in my head, "No way, that is not an invisible monster." After I said that, I heard something I will never forget. The thing started making loud T-Rex stomps. Then I said out loud, "That sounds like T-Rex from the movies." I recall I could feel the stomps on the ground. Bertha and I were just looking into the woods at this sound. I can feel my eardrums shaking bad, and both eardrums felt like busted speakers. In my head I said, "It's trying to blow my eardrums." The T-Rex stomps lasted about 10 or 15 seconds. Then the sound stopped. It just turned off like a light switch. I have no idea if it jumped into something or it vanished. It is strange because after all that, I still felt happy with no worry or fear at all. Just very curious. I really wanted to see it. On the way home, I remember thinking, any other day I would have been afraid and ran away from it. I heard this thing 3 or 4 times in the following days. In another section of woods, I could hear someone heavy walking on leaves just inside the tree line about 30 feet away in the woods alongside me and Bertha. I would hear it, and I would stop without turning to it. And it would take a step or 2, and it would stop. I turned around a few times to see nothing because it wasn't moving. I did this a few times to make sure. I would tell myself in my head, if a person stays on trail, they have no permission to take you. I think one time I heard his steps in the woods next to me. I said to myself in my head, I think it wants me to make a mistake and go into the woods towards it. After I said that, I never heard it again. I am sure it can hear what I am thinking. Just a few weeks ago, I had seen something very strange related to this thing. Bertha and I were walking in the same part of the trail, only about 100 feet away from my first encounter where the bushes were. I stopped to look into the woods at this view into the woods. I was standing still looking past the trees. How the area was covered in a few inches of light green grass. I was looking kinda downhill how the woods go down in and around the creek down there. I said to myself, it looks beautiful, the trees, the color of greens in the sunlight and shadow. It looks like a postcard perfect. About 2 or 3 seconds after I thought that, while I was just looking down at this area of woods, I saw a big human-shaped blur move between 2 trees about 80 feet away. I saw it for a split second. It was big, maybe 10 feet tall. Big head, big wide muscle shoulders, and I remember his big left leg. I remember his left knee and big muscle above it, the laterals. I could see the thick shiny hair on the leg. Yes, this thing looked exactly like the predator from the movie when he is cloaked. But in person it is more clear. It is very weird how my brain was able to capture this image. My memory surprised me. His shoulders, his head, and the side of his back was reflecting the woods between him and me. He stood out from the sunlit background. It looked like a male, not a female. I was surprised just like him. In my opinion, I think he took off running because he thought I was sensing that he was in the area. But I had no idea he was there. He was running fast, cloaked with no noise. I think he knows Bertha. Can't pick up on him if he hides a little farther away from the trail. I am very cautious when we go walking near woods now. I also tell people where I am going and carry a few extra things hidden on me. I have no idea why this thing got so close to me or what its intentions were. And I also don't know why it ran away from me those times. Was there something or someone behind me that startled it? These occurrences were a very incredible time of my life. It changed me in a good way. I often think, I don't know, but maybe that's why dogs are on this planet. To help us and pick up on these invisible things when they get too close. Always be happy and do the things you love doing in your life. Have no worries and certainly no fear. I hope my story helps people to be alert and careful out there in this world.